The moment you know you have to prepare for these interviews, it's pretty nerve-wracking. The first thought is, how should I go about this? Am I good enough? What should I say? I did prepare a little bit, at least in the initial phase of the journey, but then later on I kind of gave up. I think it was because of a lack of clarity in my own head. I still remember reading the answer which I had written for myself, why MBA? And it was so vague, I would laugh at it today. Hi everyone, I'm Akansha Chachra. I am currently a first year student at IIM Bangalore. I graduated from Ferguson College in Pune with an arts degree. I majored in economics. I worked for 2 years as a senior research analyst at Value Notes. It's a market research firm based in Pune. I had calls from all the IIMs except A and C. But I was pretty happy because B is what I wanted and I was happy to get that call. The moment you know you have to prepare for these interviews, it's pretty nerve-wracking. The first thought is, how should I go about this? Am I good enough? What should I say? Right after CAT, I was pretty clear this is the year I want to get done with it. I had a previous attempt in 2020 and that was not something I was prepared for, definitely. The first thing which I did was go through everything which is there on the internet. I read multiple articles on even InsideIIM, then certain LinkedIn articles, Quora articles, people sharing their interview experiences. Watched a few videos as well. Okay, this is how you should prepare for your interviews, this is what you should do. And then one thing which I could see everywhere was the commonality was know yourself. Know yourself would mean you have to sit through the whole process of introspection. It sounds very fancy right now, oh, we have to sit and introspect, but it is exactly what it is. Once you do that basic thing, I think you're sorted. And that is when I decided I don't think I need to take any mock interview course as such. I thought it might be a risky move at that moment, but I think it worked in my favor eventually. So I started with just the basic Excel sheet. I divided it into 5 to 6 sections. I had academics, I had extracurriculars, current affairs, work experience, HR questions, and then just basic general knowledge. And even added a bucket later when I had the calls for Bangalore, Lucknow and Kozhikode, like basic things I should be knowing about the state or the college, etc. So that's how I built my document, how I'd be preparing for the GTPI. For individual buckets, then I further divided it into certain sections. So I started with the HR questions first, because it's obvious that these are the things which people say you should be knowing anyway, right? Why do you want to pursue an MBA? What are your strengths, your weaknesses? Why do you really want to be there in the first place? So I started listing down a few things which I had initially in my mind. Throughout the 2 to 4 months, the time period which you get, I kept iterating the text which I had written, kept talking to people, learning from them how not to sound fake in any way, because most of the time there are very few common points which everybody is saying. Why do you want to MBA? So there will be a few common pointers and it's pretty obvious that is exactly why everybody is there. But how do you structure it in a way that it becomes as original as possible? It brings out who you are when you answer those questions. So it was an iterative process. Till the very end, I think I had changed a few bits. Current affairs was something which I prioritized. And in fact, I prioritized this even during my CAT preparation phase. So what I used to do was generally just watching a few videos on YouTube. I was not very clear about pursuing an MBA in the first place. I was in my 3rd year and I was just attempting the CAT for the first time. I did prepare a little bit, at least in the initial phase of the journey, but then later on I kind of gave up. I think it was because of a lack of clarity in my own head. I still remember reading the answer which I had written for myself, why MBA? And it was so vague, I would laugh at it today. I'd just written, because I'm an economics graduate, I should be interested in finance, hence I want to do an MBA in finance, and it just sounded really dumb to me. I got a few calls. I got a call from Shillong, Amritsar and all the other IIMs as well. And apart from that, I also applied to IMT Ghaziabad, Goa Institute of Management and DSE. And I converted, in fact, all of them later as well. The only call which I didn't convert was Shillong. And I remember how that interview went. It was a pretty bad experience. And I'll also let you know why it went bad. So firstly, the experience was they asked me a few questions. And I had written something in my SOP about how I like to solve Sudoku and Kakuro puzzles. And it's something which I genuinely enjoy doing. But when the interviewer asked me for the first time, okay, so tell me what's a Kakuro puzzle? And I just froze for a moment. Instead of explaining it to them, oh, this is the process, this is how you do it, I kind of fumbled, and then I think I just lost my game in the first few seconds. Any questions related to academics also, I was able to handle that, but because the interview started had such a wrong start or such a silly start, I lost my game then and there. And in 2022, the clear difference which I could see was I was doing all the basic things right. Like I mentioned, I had a whole Excel document which I was continuously iterating over time. So in Bangalore, yes, there are many people who tend to be working for a few years and then come to Bangalore. So that is something true. Even if you look at our batch profile, a large chunk of the people, roughly 80% definitely have some work experience. But that does not mean that there aren't any freshers here. So definitely that is not the case. I wouldn't say that there's a slight preference towards shortlisting people with work ex specifically, because nobody really knows that it's a black box. But coming to people who have work ex and how to handle those interviews, I think you have got to know what you have done. If they ask something about something which you have done, something which you talk about, you should know what you have done, right? So even if it's, let's say, a project which you had handled, you are expected to know a little bit about that industry, a little bit about, let's say, the value chain, or how other competitors in that same space are doing. So you are expected to know a bit of that. If you have genuinely worked in your projects well during your work ex, I think you would be fine. Just make sure to have a detailed, at least something written beforehand during your interview, during your preparation phase, so that it's easier to talk about it later. So I think for VAT particularly, I would suggest people who are not very comfortable with writing, try writing, because that's literally what you should be doing. Start slow. You don't have to rush yourself into that process. It's not easy. For VAT, that would be the one. Read first, look at certain topics, see, at least try writing a bit on it. At least pen down your thoughts if you don't want to structure it into a whole 2-3 paragraph essay. So structure down the main points which you want to talk about, because that is exactly how I went about my VAT experience. So for VAT, people are not able to dedicate a lot of time because you think the interviews are more important. I would advise you to at least spend some time on your VAT as well. Read a topic, because there are a lot of topics which you will find in the interview compendiums which are shared by colleges. So read those topics, pen down a few thoughts, and I think that is how you can prepare for the VAT. And talking about PI and how do you handle, let's say, if you're somebody not very comfortable in speaking in English or just speaking in general, you're just afraid of public speaking. The first and foremost thing is be calm, talk slowly. You don't have to rush into the process and just answer everything immediately. If your thoughts are clear in your head, it's more easier to convey it to the panelist or anybody else for that matter, for public speaking in general. Do not put a lot of pressure on yourself. Nobody's out here to pull you down. In fact, reach out to your friends and a few seniors if you know. Try to network with people on LinkedIn who are already in those campuses. See if they have some advice which can help you. But again, don't go overboard. As long as you're done with your basic prep, you know who you are and you're not faking anything, I don't think so anything can go wrong then. And don't try to change your story. What you have done now, it's done. Just be who you are and present your story in the best possible manner.